For the second problem set, we are going to be looking at the concrete itself. Looking at the concrete for the floor slab, the footing pads underneath our adjustable posts, the foundation wall footings, the foundation walls themselves, and then totaling up all of the concrete we have on the project. So first off, we have our concrete floor slab. Again, this is the inside of foundation wall dimensions. Our concrete slab runs from inside foundation wall to inside foundation wall. So we can pull these numbers from what we calculated originally from the problems in the first sample problem. We already figured out that the square footage of our slab is going to be the same as the vinyl sheathing that is going to be underneath it. So that we calculated as 855.111 square feet. If we take that number and multiply it by the 4-inch slab thickness, make sure you convert inches to feet, we end up with 285.037. So we have that in cubic feet. We need to convert to cubic yards. And we end up with 10.557, so roughly 10.6 cubic yards. If you round up to 11 cubic yards, that is perfectly acceptable. When you actually order concrete, you're going to order it in a whole cubic yard, not in a partial. However, if you have multiple pours going on the job site, then you can order that all in one batch rather than split it up. So you can leave it in the more specific number to start off with, and then you can always make sure that when you actually do the ordering, you account for that at that time. So either 10.6 or rounding it up to the nearest whole number would be perfectly acceptable for this answer. Number 15 is looking at our footing pads. So again, we already determined in the first problem set that we have 12 square feet for all three of our footing pads. We saw that they are labeled as 24 by 24 by 12 inches. So the 12 inches is the height. That will help us determine the cubic footage. So we end up with 12 cubic feet. If we divide that by our 27 cubic feet per cubic yard, means we have 0.44 repeating, so roughly a half cubic yard, or again, you could round it up to 1 as your cubic yardage as long as you show your work and show what your more accurate number is first. But we wouldn't just pour our concrete pads alone anyway. We're going to pour them at the same time that we pour our foundation wall footings. So this is foundation wall footings. These are the strip footings that run underneath all of our foundation walls. We are going to use our centerline dimensions for our calculation. So we need to break it up into our different components. We have our front wall that is 12 inches in height by 24 inches in width by 35 foot 4 inches, which is the center line length. 70.667 cubic feet. The back and sides we can lump together because they are all 8 inches in height, 16 inches in width, and we calculated the center line perimeter for that in number 3 as 86 foot 4 inches. And we get 76.741 cubic feet. If we want to total it up, we just add the two together, 70.667 plus our 76.741, convert it into cubic yards, and we get 5.4595, or roughly 5.46 cubic yards. So if we rounded this one up to our nearest whole number of 6 cubic yards, and we rounded up our footing pads to 1 cubic yard, total we would have 7 cubic yards. But as we can see, if we added up our decimals, we would actually only order 6 cubic yards instead of 7. So when it comes to being precise, we want to make sure that we are being most accurate, and instead of wasting an entire cubic yard of concrete, and this isn't just a cubic foot, this is a cubic yard of concrete, we can then be more precise in our more precise in our ordering and then in our estimate. So next up, we're going to be calculating our foundation walls in number 17. So this is our foundation walls. We again need to break it up between our front and our back and sides, but we also want to make sure that we account for the brick ledge. We don't need to pour where that is going to occur, so we want to make sure we subtract it out. So if we look at our front, we have the same volume calculation for height times width times length, but in this case, we are going to have an 8-foot height. We are going to have a 12-inch thickness or width, but we still need to use our center line for our length. For our back and sides, we have an 8-foot height of our wall. We have an 8-inch width, and we have 86 foot 4 inches for our center line. These two, once we calculate, we are going to add together. But again, we need to subtract the brick ledge. The height of our brick ledge per the plans is 8 inches. The width is going to be 4 inches. So if we're looking at our brick ledge sitting on top of our foundation wall, we have a 4-inch dimension here. Again, height is 8 inches. This is a void. It is not going to be included in our calculation. We could use the center line length if we wanted to, but if we really think about it, that brick ledge runs the entire length of our structure, so a more accurate number would be to use the full length of our front foundation wall, which is 36 feet. So we want to subtract. So we want to take our front, add it to our back and sides, subtract out our brick ledge. If we did all of that calculation, we would end up with 735.111 repeating cubic feet. Divide that by 27 cubic feet per cubic yard, and we end up with 27.226, or roughly 27.2 cubic yards. So that is the cubic yardage for our foundation walls. Again, if you want to round up to 28, that would be perfectly acceptable. The last one is totaling up all the concrete on our project. So we have our 0.4 repeating for our footing pads. We have the 5.4595, which is our footers. We have the 27.226 for our walls. And we have the 10.557, which is our slab. So total, we have 43.6 43.687, or roughly 43.7 cubic yards. If you rounded it up to 44, that would be perfectly fine as well. But again, if we're looking at this practically, the reason why we want to even look at this number is just to get an idea of how much concrete we have on the project. As I mentioned, we are going to be ordering it at different stages and pouring our concrete at different stages. Starting off, we would be looking at our pads and our footers. So we would order this all in one and order approximately 6 cubic yards at that time. If we're doing our walls and this is the only project we're working on, we would order 28. And lastly, our slab, we would order 11. If we have, again, other projects going on the job site where we can help spread out the concrete we are pouring, then maybe we're ordering it in different quantities. But what we can do is, if we have an approximation of how much we're going to actually be placing, not necessarily how much we're going to be ordering, because we can see we would have slightly different numbers if we were looking at that. This can help with other estimations such as our finish work as well as our labor. So we want to make sure that we have a general idea of how much concrete we have on the project, and this goes for many other types of materials as well. But that concludes how to calculate all of the concrete material we need for Plan 100.